Hey guys, tonight we slip into the quiet rhythm of a midwife's life in Edo-Period Japan, sometime around 1750. Picture this: you're nestled in a small wooden house, the air thick with the scent of tatami mats and faint wood smoke. Outside, a rooster crows faintly, and the first streaks of dawn paint the shoji screens a soft pink. You're a midwife in a bustling village on the outskirts of Edo, modern-day Tokyo, where your hands bring new life into the world. It's a tough gig. One wrong move and you're dodging glares from superstitious neighbors who think a bad birth is your fault. Honestly, you probably won't survive the gossip if a delivery goes south. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and what time it is where you are. I love picturing you all cozied up across the globe. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir on your futon, the straw beneath you crinkling as you blink into the half-light. It's barely dawn, but your day as a midwife starts now. Your home is modest, a single room with a low ceiling, a hearth in one corner, and shelves lined with clay jars of herbs. The walls paper-thin hum with the faint buzz of village life, waking up cartwheels, creaking a neighbor's dog yapping. You stretch your joints, protesting after years of crouching over laboring mothers. Your kimono, patched but clean, hangs on a wooden peg. It's indigo practical with wide sleeves for rolling up when things get messy. You slip it on, tying the obi sash with practiced fumbles, your fingers still half asleep. Edo-period midwives, or sanba, were the unsung heroes of village life. Historical records show they delivered most babies in Japan's urban and rural areas, often without formal training, relying on wisdom passed down from older women. You're one of them, trusted, but not exactly revered. Your role blends medicine, spirituality, and a knack for calming panicked families. A quirky tidbit: some midwives doubled as matchmakers, whispering about eligible bachelors while stitching up umbilical cords. Historians still argue whether sanba were seen as healers or just glorified busybodies, their status shifting with each village's mood. You shuffle to the hearth where last night's embers glow faintly. The air's chilly, so you poke the coals and toss in a few sticks. Your first task is to boil water, not for tea, but for cleansing your hands and tools. Hygiene wasn't exactly a science in 1750, but you've got a gut feeling about keeping things clean even if your neighbors think it's overkill. You smirk, imagining their raised eyebrows. Boiling water. What's next? Washing the baby in sake, they'd scoff. You grab a bamboo bucket and head to the well outside your geta clogs, clacking on the dirt path. The village is stirring merchants, haggling kids, chasing chickens. You nod to a fisherman, hauling his nets, his face weathered like old leather. The well's rope is damp and the bucket sloshes as you haul it up. Back inside, you pour the water into a kettle and set it over the fire. While it heats, you tidy your workspace. Your tools, bamboo forceps, linen strips, a tiny knife for cutting cords, are laid out on a cloth. You're obsessive about their order, a habit that saved you during chaotic births. A stray thought hits. What if today's the day you face twins? You've heard horror stories from other midwives, and the thought makes your stomach lurch. You push it aside, humming a lullaby to steady your nerves. The kettle whistles, and you pour the steaming water into a basin, the heat stinging your knuckles. Outside, a temple bell tolls deep and slow, signaling the hour. You're not religious, but you mutter a quick prayer to Cannon, the goddess of mercy, for steady hands today. It's a habit like brushing your teeth, except, well, toothbrushes aren't a thing yet, and your smile's more rustic charm than pearly white. You chuckle, imagining a modern dentist's horror at your diet of rice and pickled radish. The village is fully awake now, and you hear a mother scolding her kid for stealing mochi. You're due at 3 houses today, all expecting mothers in their final weeks. One's a first-timer, probably terrified. You'll need your softest voice for her. As the water cools, you dip your hands, scrubbing with a nub of soap made from rice bran. It smells faintly nutty, nothing like the floral stuff you'd kill for. Your mind drifts to the day ahead, births herbs, maybe a squabble with a know-it-all mother-in-law. You're the village's lifeline for new life, but it's a grind, long hours, no pay, unless the family's generous, and the constant weight of expectation. Still, there's a quiet pride in it. You dry your hands, ready to face the day, your kimono sleeves flapping like wings. You're standing in your small Edo-period home, the steam from the kettle still curling in the air as you finish scrubbing your hands. The village hums outside, but you're focused inward, preparing for a day that could bring anything from a smooth delivery to a marathon labor. It's time for your morning rituals, the quiet acts that ground you before you step into the chaos of other people's lives. You move to a small wooden shrine in the corner where a carved figure of Canon, Goddess of Mercy, sits surrounded by stubs of incense. The air smells faintly of sandalwood, and you kneel, your kimono pooling on the tatami. Morning rituals for midwives like you were a blend of practical and spiritual. Historical records from the Edo period show Sanba often started their day with prayers not just for faith, but to steel themselves against the unpredictability of childbirth. You light a fresh stick of incense, the smoke spiraling upward like a lazy ghost. A quirky tidbit. Some midwives believe the incense's scent could ward off evil spirits blamed for difficult births, less science, more village lore. Historians still argue whether these rituals were heartfelt devotion or just a way to calm anxious clients who expected a touch of mysticism. You clasp your hands and murmur a prayer, asking Canon for steady hands and healthy babies. It's less about dogma and more about routine, like a mental checklist, herbs tools. Prayers don't lose your cool. You smirk, imagining a modern self-help guru trying to market this as mindfulness. Visualize a complication-free delivery, they'd chirp, and you'd roll your eyes. The prayer done, you rise, knees creaking, and turn to the practical side of your morning cleanse. You grab a small clay bowl and pour in water from the kettle, now cooled to a bearable warmth. A scrap of linen serves as your washcloth, and you scrub your face, neck, and arms, the cold water snapping you awake. The village is louder now, cart vendors shouting, a stray cat yowling over a fish scrap. You glance at the shoji screens where sunlight filters through, casting soft grids on the floor. Your next step is purifying your tools, a habit you've stuck to despite neighbors calling it fussy. You dip your bamboo forceps and knife into the warm water, wiping them with a clean cloth. The knife's blade glints, tiny but sharp enough to cut umbilical cords in one swipe. You've heard of midwives who don't bother cleaning their tools, and the thought makes you shudder. Good luck with that infection, you mutter, half joking, picturing a modern doctor's horrified face. With your hands and tools cleansed, you turn to your hair, which is a tangled mess from sleeping on a straw pillow. You rake it back with a wooden comb, tying it into a tight bun with a strip of cloth. No mirrors here, vanity's a luxury you don't have time for. You catch your reflection in the water basin and snort. Not winning any beauty contests, you say to yourself, chuckling at the thought of a modern influencer trying to survive a day without a selfie. Your kimono sleeves are tied back now, ready for work, and you feel a quiet shift, like a soldier suiting up for battle. Outside, a temple bell tolls its deep hum, vibrating through the walls. It's a reminder that time's moving, and you've got 3 expecting mothers to check on today. You take a moment to stretch your back, popping like kindling. The physical toll of midwifery is no joke, crouching for hours, hauling water, soothing hysterics. You've got scars on your hands from years of quick knife work, and your knees protest every morning. Still, there's a rhythm to it, a strange comfort in the repetition. You glance at your shrine one last time, the incense still smoldering, and mutter a final plea to Canon. No twins today, please. Before you head out, you check your midwife's kit, a woven basket holding your tools, linen strips, and a few herbal poultices wrapped in bamboo leaves. You sling it over your shoulder, the weight familiar like an old friend. The village is fully awake now, and you hear a mother scolding her kid for stealing mochi. You smile, remembering your own childhood sneaking rice cakes from your aunt's kitchen. The memory fades as you step toward the door, ready to face the day. Your rituals are done, your mind sharp but calm, braced for whatever the village throws at you. You're ready to leave your small Edo-Period home, your midwife's kit slung over your shoulder, the faint sandalwood scent of incense lingering in your kimono. The morning rituals have steadied you, but now it's time to fuel up before trekking through the village. You shuffle to the hearth where a small iron pot sits, its contents cooled from last night's fire. Breakfast as a midwife is no grand affair, your life's too practical for lavish spreads. You lift the lid, revealing a modest portion of rice mixed with barley, flecked with bits of pickled radish. The smell is earthy, comforting, like a hug from a grumpy aunt. In Edo-Period Japan, rice was a staple, but historical records show midwives like you often stretched it with cheaper grains like barley to make ends meet. Your income depends on grateful families, and some pay in goods fish. Cloth may be a basket of yams if you're lucky, a quirky tidbit. Some midwives swore by chewing raw ginger before meals, believing it sharpened their senses for spotting labor complications. Historians still argue whether this was folk wisdom or just a way to mask the monotony of plain rice diets. You grab a pair of chopsticks, worn smooth from years of use, and settle on a cushion by the hearth. You scoop a bite of rice, the grains sticking together in a satisfying clump. It's cold, but you don't mind reheating's a luxury when you're on a schedule. The radish adds a sharp tang, waking your tongue as you chew slowly. You glance at a small wooden box on the shelf where you keep your herbal notes scribbled on scraps of washi paper. Between bites, you pull it down and flip through reviewing remedies for labor pains, mugwort for cramps, licorice root for energy. You're no scholar, but you've memorized enough to impress or intimidate pushy mothers-in-law. You smirk, imagining a modern pharmacist's face at your prescriptions. Mugwort. Seriously, they'd scoff. The village noise filters through the shoji screens, merchants haggling a cart's wheels, crunching on gravel. You eat faster now, knowing you've got 3 house calls today. Your notes mention a first-time mother, Hana, who's probably panicking already. You jot a reminder to bring extra linen for her, then tuck the box away. Your breakfast is half done, but you pause to sip water from a clay cup, the coolness soothing your throat. No tea today, the leaves are running low, and you're saving them for a tough week. Priorities, you mutter, chuckling at the thought of a modern coffee addict surviving your caffeine-free life. As you finish the rice, you think about the ginger trick. You've got a knob of it in your kit, so you slice off a thin piece with your knife, the spicy scent hitting your nose like a wake-up call. You chew it, wincing at the burn, but it does clear your head. Superstition or not, it's a ritual that makes you feel sharp, ready to spot a breech birth or calm a hysterical family. You wipe your hands on a cloth, then rinse your chopsticks in a bucket of water. Waste not, want not, every drop and scrap counts in this life. Outside, a neighbor's rooster crows again late and obnoxious, and you roll your eyes. Someone needs to stew that bird, you joke to yourself, picturing the chaos if you actually suggested it. The village is your world, equal parts annoying and endearing, and you know every quirk of its people. You stand brushing crumbs from your kimono and grab a small bamboo container of dried seaweed to nibble on the road. It's not much, but it'll keep you going until midday. Your notes are tucked into your obi sash, your kit rechecked, and you're ready to move. Before you go, you glance at the hearth where a single ember still glows. You douse it with a splash of water, the hiss loud in the quiet room. Fire's a midwife's nightmare, one stray spark, and your whole house is gone. You've seen it happen, a neighbor's home reduced to ash, and you're not taking chances. The temple bell tolls again, urging you onward. You slide open the door, the morning air cool and damp, and step out your getter-clogs, sinking slightly into the dirt. Breakfast is done, your remedies reviewed, and the village waits. You step out of your Edo-Period home, the cool morning air brushing your face as you adjust the midwife's kit on your shoulder. The village is alive now, a patchwork of sounds, vendors calling, dogs barking, the rhythmic clop of a horse pulling a cart. Your Gita clogs crunch on the dirt path as you begin your rounds, heading toward the first of 3 expecting mothers you'll check on today. The sky is clear, a pale blue stretching over the thatched roofs, and you catch the faint scent of rice fields in the distance. Your destination is a cluster of homes near the village's edge, where mothers-to-be rely on your steady hands and sharper tongue to keep their nerves in check. Edo-Period midwives like you were the backbone of village healthcare, with historical records showing Sanba often walked miles daily to visit patients, carrying everything they needed in woven baskets. Your kit's weight is familiar, but your back still grumbles from years of this grind. A quirky tidbit: some midwives tied bells to their obi sashes, believing the jingle scared off bad spirits, or at least announced their arrival to sleepy households. Historians still argue whether this was practical signaling or just superstitious flair. You've skipped the bells yourself. You'd rather not sound like a wandering cow. You trudge along the path, passing a farmer hauling bamboo poles, his face etched with sweat. You nod, and he grunts back, too tired for chit-chat. The village is a maze of narrow lanes, lined with wooden homes, and the occasional persimmon tree, its fruit glowing orange in the sunlight. Your first stop is Hana's house, the nervous first-timer you've been thinking about since breakfast. She's due any day, and her letters sent via a neighbor's son have been frantic, full of questions about pain. And what if the baby gets stuck? You pat the extra linen tucked in your kit, a callback to your morning prep, and mutter, "Patience, Hana. We'll get through this." The path dips toward a small stream, and you cross a rickety bridge, the wood creaking under your clogs. A group of kids chase each other nearby, their laughter sharp, and you smile despite yourself. Little terrors, you say under your breath, imagining them stealing mochi from your pantry if you ever left the door open. The stream's gurgle is soothing, though, and you pause to splash water on your wrists, the cold grounding you. You've got a long day ahead, and these small moments, Waterbird song, the crunch of dirt, are what keep you sane. Hana's house comes into view, a modest structure with a sagging roof and a tiny garden of daikon radishes. You spot her mother-in-law, a wiry woman named Yuki, sweeping the porch with a bamboo broom. She's a talker, and not the fun kind. More complain about everything than share a good story. You steel yourself, pasting on a polite smile as you approach. "Morning, Yuki-san," you call, and she squints clearly, itching to lecture you about something. You're used to it. Midwives are lightning rods for village opinions, especially from elders who think they know better. Yuki waves you inside, already grumbling about Hana's fragile nerves. You duck under the low doorway, the air inside thick with the smell of boiled millet and straw. Hana's sitting on a cushion, her belly round under a faded kimono, her eyes wide with worry. You kneel beside her, setting your kit down with a soft thud. "Let's see how you're doing," you say, your voice low and calm, like you're soothing a skittish horse. You check her pulse, pressing 2 fingers to her wrist, and ask about her sleep, her pains, her dreams, old midwife tricks to gauge her health without scaring her. Hana stammers about a dull ache in her back, and you nod, keeping your face neutral. Back pain's normal, but you'll keep an eye on it. You pull out a small cloth bundle from your kit, unwrapping a dried mugwort leaf. Remember your breakfast notes and tell her to steep it in hot water later. It'll ease the ache, you say, though you skip mentioning the ginger you chewed earlier. No need to overwhelm her. Yuki hovers, muttering about modern midwives and their fancy herbs. You bite back a retort, imagining a modern doctor rolling their eyes at her. Stick to sweeping Yuki, you think, chuckling inwardly. The visit wraps up quickly, Hana's stable just scared. You promise to return tomorrow, sling your kit back on, and step outside the sunlight, blinding after the dim house. 2 more mothers to see, and the day's barely started. You adjust your obi feeling, the washi paper notes crinkle, and head down the path, the village's rhythm pulling you forward. You're back on the dirt path, leaving Hana's house behind, the weight of your midwife's kit, a steady pull on your shoulder. The village hums around you, vendors shouting about fresh tofu, a loom clacking from a nearby home. Your clogs kick up dust as you head toward your next house. Call a seasoned mother named Aiko, who's on her third child and likely less jittery than Hana. The sun's climbing, warming your kimono, and you catch the sweet whiff of persimmon from a tree overhanging the lane. Your job now is to check on Aiko, feel for the baby's position, and maybe dodge her nosy neighbor's questions about Hana's delicate state. Edo-period midwives were often the village's unofficial therapists, with historical records noting Sanba spent as much time calming fears as delivering babies. Your role demands a knack for reading people, knowing when to joke, when to hush. A quirky tidbit: some midwives carried smooth river stones believed to absorb a mother's pain if clutched during labor. Historians still argue whether this was placebo or just a clever way to keep mothers distracted. You've got one such stone in your kit, a callback to your tool cleansing ritual. Though you're skeptical, it does more than look pretty. You approach Aiko's house, a sturdy place with a tiled roof, a step up from Hana's sagging setup. She's waiting outside, fanning herself with a palm leaf, her belly prominent under a green kimono. You're late, she teases, but her smile's warm. You grin back, setting your kit down on her porch. Blame Hana's mother-in-law, you say, and Aiko laughs, knowing Yuki's reputation. You kneel beside her, the straw mat cool under your knees, and start your check. You press gently on her belly, feeling for the baby's head, your fingers tracing the curve of life beneath her skin. Its head down, a good sign, and you nod, relieved. Aiko chats about her older kids who are off chasing dragonflies, and you half listen, focused on her pulse and the faint kicks under your hands. She's strong, her body practiced at this, but you still ask about pains or strange dreams, midwife code for spotting trouble. She mentions a twinge in her hips, nothing dire, and you suggest a mugwort tea like you told Hana earlier. You pull the river stone from your kit, its surface worn smooth, and hand it to her. Hold this, if things get rough, you say, winking. She rolls her eyes but tucks it into her sleeve, humoring you. What's next, chanting to the moon? She jokes and you chuckle, imagining a modern yoga instructor trying that line. The visit feels routine, but you stay sharp. Complacency's a midwife's enemy. You ask Aiko to lie back, checking her lower back for swelling, a trick you learned from an older Sanba years ago. No issues, just the usual strain of late pregnancy. You're about to pack up when Aiko's neighbor, a gossip with a voice like a crow, pokes her head over the fence. Is Hana delivering? Yet she pries, and you dodge with a vague, "She's fine, just resting." Nosy neighbors are part of the job, but you'd rather wrestle a pig than spill details. You mutter to yourself, "Good luck getting gossip from me," picturing a modern tabloid reporter sulking at your silence. As you wrap up, you give Aiko a linen strip from your kit for swaddling prep, reminding her to keep it clean, another nod to your water-boiling obsession. She nods grateful and offers you a pickled plum from a jar by the door. You pop it in your mouth, the sour tang waking you up better than ginger ever could. The sun's higher now, and your next stop is a mother across the village, a longer walk. You sling your kit back on, wave to Aiko, and head out, ignoring the gossip's lingering stare. The path winds past a shrine, its red gate faded but proud, and you toss a quick prayer to Canon, half habit, half hope. The village feels like a living thing, its pulse in the clatter of looms and the laughter of kids. You spot a fisherman mending nets, his hands moving like yours do during a delivery, steady, practiced. You're halfway to your next call when a stray dog trots by, sniffing your clogs. "Not food, buddy," you say, shooing it off with a grin. The day's unfolding smoothly, but you know, midwifery calm one moment, chaos the next. For now, you savor the walk, the plum's tang on your tongue, and the quiet pride of keeping mothers like Aiko steady. You're trudging along the village path, the midday sun warming your back, your midwife's kit swaying with each step. The taste of Aiko's pickled plum lingers sharp and bright as you weave through the bustle of Edo-period life vendors, hawking radishes, a kid darting past with a stolen rice cake. Your next task isn't a house call, but a quieter one preparing herbal poultices for the mothers you'll see later. You head toward a small shed behind your home, your unofficial apothecary where dried plants and clay jars hold the secrets of your trade. The air smells of dust and straw with a hint of the rice fields nearby. Edo-Period midwives relied heavily on herbal remedies with historical records showing Sanba used plants like mugwort and licorice root to ease labor pains and boost recovery. Your shed is a treasure trove of such knowledge built from years of trial and error. A quirky tidbit: some midwives mixed herbs with sake, believing the alcohol activated the medicine, or at least loosened up tense mothers. Historians still argue whether this was pharmacology or just a clever way to calm everyone down. You've tried it once, and let's just say the mother slept better than the baby did. You slide open the shed's creaky door, the air inside cool and musty, laced with the green scent of dried leaves. A low table holds your tools, a stone mortar, a bamboo sieve, and jars labeled in your shaky handwriting. You set your kit down, pulling out a bundle of mugwort. Remember your notes from breakfast, and a knob of ginger for good measure. Your goal is to grind enough poultice for 2 mothers, including Aiko, who might need it if her hip twinges worsen. You kneel the straw mat scratchy under your knees and start crushing the mugwort with the pestle, its sharp, earthy smell filling the shed. The rhythmic grinding is soothing, almost meditative, and you let your mind wander. You think of Hana, the nervous first-timer, and wonder if she's steeping that mugwort tea you recommended. You chuckle, imagining her mother-in-law Yuki grumbling about fancy herbs while secretly sniffing the brew. Bet she'd drink it if I called it magic, you mutter, picturing a modern influencer hyping it as detox tea. The ginger goes next, its spicy kick making your eyes water as you mash it into a paste. You mix it with the mugwort, adding a splash of boiled water from a flask in your kit. Another nod to your clean water obsession. Outside the village hums a cart, rattles. A woman laughs, a temple bell tolls faintly. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, your kimono sleeves tied back to keep them out of the mess. The poultice is coming together, a thick green paste you scoop into bamboo leaves, folding them into neat packets. You make 4 just in case and tuck them into your kit. The shed's shelves catch your eye, lined with jars of fennel lotus root and something called foxglove, an old Sanba swore by. You've never used it, too risky, but you keep it like a weird heirloom. Your hands are stained green now, and you scrub them with a damp cloth, the water turning murky. You're particular about cleanliness, a habit that's earned you side eyes from other midwives who think dirt's just part of the job. Tell that to the fever you grumble, recalling a bad delivery years ago that taught you better. The memory stings, but you push it aside, focusing on the task. You check your jars, noting you're low on licorice root, something to barter for at the market later. You smirk, imagining a modern pharmacist's horror at your stockpile. No expiration dates here, buddy. The poultice is done, you stand your back, protesting from the hunched work. You sling your kit over your shoulder and step outside, the sunlight harsh after the shed's dimness. A stray cat eyes you from a fence, probably the same one yowling during breakfast. Don't even think about my herbs, you say, shooing it with a wave. The village feels alive, its rhythm pulling you back into the day. You've got more mothers to see, but for now, your poultices are ready, your hands steady, and your mind clear, ready for whatever comes next. You're back in the heart of the village, the sun high overhead, your midwife's kit, now heavier, with the fresh poultices tucked inside. The dirt path is busy, merchants balancing baskets of fish, kids weaving through with kites made of washi paper. The air carries the scent of grilled eel from a nearby stall, and your stomach grumbles, reminding you that breakfast rice and plum are long gone. You're not due for another house call yet, so you linger near the village square where women gather by a well, their chatter a mix of gossip and complaints. It's the perfect spot to catch up on village talk, especially the superstitions swirling around births, which you need to navigate as deftly as any labor. Edo-Period Japan was steeped in birth-related folklore with historical records showing villagers often blamed evil spirits or bad omens for difficult deliveries. As a midwife, you're half healer, half diplomat, soothing fears while dodging absurd advice. A quirky tidbit. Some villagers believed tying a red string around a mother's wrist kept malevolent spirits at bay, less magic, more placebo. Historians still argue whether midwives leaned into these beliefs to gain trust or quietly scoffed at them. You're in the scoffing camp, but you keep that to yourself, smiling as you approach the well. You spot a familiar face, Mia, a weaver with a sharp tongue and a knack for tall tales. She's mid-story, gesturing wildly about a neighbor's recent birth. The baby came out howling like a fox, she says, and the other women gasp. You lean against the well's stone edge, setting your kit down and chime in, "Foxes don't howl, Mia." That was probably the mother. The group laughs and you wink, easing the mood. You're here to listen, not lecture, but you steer the talk toward practical stuff, like whether Aiko's hip pain, which you checked earlier, is stirring rumors of a cursed pregnancy. Mia predictably has opinions. Aiko's fine. But Hana, she says, lowering her voice, they say she dreams of Crow's bad luck. You roll your eyes but keep your tone light. Crows just mean she's eating too many rice cakes, you joke, and the women chuckle, though a few clutch their prayer beads. You've heard the crow thing before. It's village nonsense, but you make a mental note to reassure Hana later, maybe with that river stone from your kit. You shift the conversation asking about old birth customs, hoping to glean something useful or at least amusing. One woman, older than the rest, pipes up about her grandmother's day, when midwives burned cedar twigs to cleanse the birthing room. You nod, filing it away, though you'd rather stick to your boiled water and mugwort poultices. Cedar's nice for campfires, you say, smirking, but I'll pass on smoking out the baby. The group laughs again, and you feel the tension ease. You're good at this diffusing superstition, with a grin keeping everyone calm. A modern therapist would probably call it group dynamics, but to you it's just surviving the village grapevine. The talk turns to practical matters. Cloth for swaddling who's brewing better sake for post-birth celebrations. You mention needing licorice root, a callback to your shed inventory, and Mia promises to ask her trader husband. You're bartering as much as gossiping a midwife's hustle to keep your supplies stocked. The well's rope creaks as a girl hauls up a bucket, splashing your clogs, and you step back, muttering, "Nice aim, kid." The women giggle, and you shake off the water your kimono hem, already dusty from the morning's trek. As the chatter winds down, you pick up a tidbit about a new mother across the river who swears by lotus seed broth for milk production. You're skeptical, but curious, maybe worth trying for Aiko or Hana. The sun's starting to dip, and you've got a birth to prepare for later, so you hoist your kit ready to move on. Mia calls after you. Don't let the crows get you, and you wave without turning, chuckling at the thought of a modern skeptic debunking her tales on some podcast. The village square fades behind you, its gossip a useful map of who's scared, who's nosy, and who might need your help next. You're weaving through the village, the midday buzz fading as you head toward Aiko's house again, your midwife's kit thumping against your hip. The gossip by the well crow's red strings and all still lingers in your mind, but now your focus sharpens. Aiko's contractions started earlier than expected, and a neighbor's boy just sprinted to fetch you, his words breathless. It's time. The sun hangs low, casting long shadows over the thatched roofs, and the air carries the faint tang of charcoal from cooking fires. You quicken your pace, your get-a-clogs kicking up dust, ready to guide Aiko through the early stages of labor. Childbirth in Edo-Period Japan was a community affair with historical records showing midwives like you often managed deliveries with minimal tools, relying on experience and calm. Your job is to keep Aiko steady, monitor her progress, and fend off any meddling relatives. A quirky tidbit. Some midwives hummed specific tunes during labor, believing the rhythm soothed the mother, or at least drowned out her mother-in-law's nagging. Historians still argue whether these songs were tradition or just a way to keep everyone distracted. You've got a tune in mind, a soft lullaby from your own childhood ready if Aiko needs it. You reach Aiko's house, the tiled roof glowing in the late light. She's inside, pacing on a straw mat, her face tight with discomfort. Her husband Taro hovers uselessly, wringing his hands. It's early, he stammers, and you nod, setting your kit down with a thud. Babies don't read calendars, you say, flashing a grin to ease his panic. Aiko manages a weak smile, gripping the wall as a contraction hits. You kneel beside her, checking her pulse strong, steady, and time the pains, counting silently. They're regular, but not urgent, giving you a window to settle in. You unpack your kit, laying out linen strips, the mugwort poultice you prepped in the shed, and that smooth river stone you gave Aiko earlier. She's clutching it now, her knuckles pale, and you nod approvingly. Good grip, you say, half joking, but don't break it. She laughs a small sound, and you feel the room relax a fraction. Taro's mother, Kimi, bustles in with a tray of hot water, bless her, for not arguing about your boiling obsession, and you dip a cloth to wipe Aiko's brow. The air smells of straw and sweat with a faint whiff of the poultice's earthy green. You guide Aiko to a low stool, a common birthing position in Edo villages, letting gravity do some of the work. Breathe slow, you murmur your voice low, almost ASMR worthy, as you press the poultice to her lower back, right where she'd mentioned that hip twinge. The warmth seems to help, and she exhales, her shoulders loosening. You start humming that lullaby, soft and wordless, the melody weaving through the room like incense smoke. Taro stares confused, but Kimi nods, recognizing the old tune. You smirk inwardly, imagining a modern doula charging extra for therapeutic humming. The contractions are steady, about 5 minutes apart, and you keep track by tapping your foot, a trick you picked up from another sanba. You check Aiko's belly, feeling the baby's position, still head down, thank Canon. You've got time, so you talk her through what's coming, keeping it simple. It'll hurt, but you're tougher than Taro's bad fishing stories. She chuckles, and Taro blushes, muttering about a big carp he almost caught. Humor's your secret weapon, cutting through fear like your knife through an umbilical cord. Outside, the village settles, crickets chirp, a dog barks lazily. Kimi tries to offer Aiko rice porridge, but you wave it off. Food's a bad idea mid-labor. You've seen too many mothers retch during a push, a lesson learned the messy way. Instead, you hand Aiko a bamboo cup of water, urging small sips. The room feels like a small world, just Yuiko and the baby on its way. You glance at your kit mentally, checking your supplies, enough linen poultices, that tiny knife cleaned this morning. You're ready, but the weight of the moment sits heavy, a quiet reminder that every birth is a gamble. You're crouched in Aiko's dimly lit home, the air thick with the scent of straw mats and the mugwort poultice warming her back. Her contractions are closer now, about 3 minutes apart, and she's gripping your river stone like it's her lifeline. The lullaby you were humming earlier has faded, replaced by Aiko's steady breaths and the occasional grunt of effort. Taro, her husband, hovers near the door, tasked with fetching more hot water, while Kimi, his mother, fans Aiko with a palm leaf, her earlier nagging swapped for quiet focus. You're in the thick of the birth now, guiding Aiko through labor's peak, your voice a calm anchor as you weave in soft chants to ease her and the baby's arrival. Edo-Period midwives often used ritualistic chants during births, with historical records, noting sanba employed rhythmic phrases to soothe mothers and invoke spiritual protection. These chants weren't just for show, they set a tempo for breathing and pushing. A quirky tidbit: some midwives claimed their chants could call the baby out, though you suspect it was more about keeping everyone from panicking. Historians still argue whether these chants were rooted in Shinto beliefs or just practical psychology. You lean toward psychology, but you're not above a little mysticism if it keeps Aiko focused. You kneel closer, your kimono hem dusty from the floor, and start a soft chant, a repetitive "Onito Onito," borrowed from an old sanba, who swore it mimicked a baby's heartbeat. Aiko's eyes lock on yours, and she tries to match her breaths to the rhythm. Keep going, you murmur, your voice low like you're coaxing a skittish cat. You check her progress, pressing gently to gauge the baby's descent. It's close the head crowning, and you nod to Kimi to ready the linen strips from your kit, those clean ones you boiled this morning. Almost there, Aiko, you say, flashing a grin. This kid's eager to meet you. The room feels smaller now, the world narrowing to Aiko's effort. You dab her forehead with a damp cloth, the water still warm thanks to Taro's frantic kettle runs. A contraction hits, and Aiko groans, her face scrunching. You chant louder, keeping the rhythm steady, and guide her to push. Slow and strong, like you're moving a mountain, you say your tone calm but firm. She nods, panting, and pushes her hands clutching the river stone. You glance at your kit, the tiny knife ready for the umbilical cord, and feel a familiar mix of focus and adrenaline. This is your element, messy, intense, alive. You check again, your hands gentle but sure, and see the baby's head fully crowned. One more big push, you tell Aiko, and she grits her teeth, giving it everything. The baby slips out a slick, wriggling bundle, and you catch her with practiced hands, your linen cloth ready to wrap her. It's a girl, her cry sharp and healthy, cutting through the room's tension. You chuckle softly, muttering louder than Taro's fish stories. Aiko laughs a tired, joyful sound, and Kimi gasps, fanning faster, like she's powering a windmill. Taro pokes his head and eyes wide, and you wave him back. Water not gawking, you tease, keeping the mood light. You wipe the baby clean, checking her color, and breathing both strong, thank Canon. You cut the umbilical cord with your knife, the blade slicing cleanly, and tie it off with a linen strip, your movements quick but careful. You hand the baby to Aiko, who's trembling with exhaustion and awe, and she cradles her daughter, murmuring soft words. You apply the mugwort poultice to Aiko's lower back again, its warmth easing her lingering pains, and adjust the straw mat beneath her for comfort. You did it, you say, your voice warm. She's perfect. Outside the village, hums softly. Crickets a distant dog bark. You glance at your kit, mentally checking supplies, enough linen for swaddling poultices for aftercare. You're tired but steady, the chant still echoing in your head. You think of Hana, the nervous first-timer, and hope her birth goes this well. No crows or nonsense omens. Modern moms would need a spa day after this, you mutter, smirking at the thought of a yoga retreat for Edo midwives. The room settles, Aiko's breathing slowing, and you ready yourself for the next step, teaching her to swaddle this new life. You're still in Aiko's home, the air now softer, warmer as the newborn. A tiny girl with a shock of black hair rests in her mother's arms. The delivery, fresh from your chants and steady hands, went smoothly, and Aiko's exhausted but glowing, cradling her daughter, while Taro beams like he's just caught the world's biggest carp. Kimi's tidying up, muttering about porridge again, and you're kneeling beside Aiko, your midwife's kit, open ready to teach her how to swaddle this new life, to keep her snug and calm. The room smells of straw boiled water, and the faint green of the mugwort poultice you used during labor, and the late afternoon light filters through the shoji screens, casting a golden glow. In Edo-Period, Japan, swaddling was a cornerstone of newborn care, with historical records showing midwives taught mothers to wrap babies tightly in soft cloth, to mimic the womb's security and promote calm. It was practical, but also carried cultural weight, believed to shape limbs and soothe fussiness. A quirky tidbit. Some midwives tucked a small charm like a folded paper crane into the swaddling cloth, claiming it brought luck, though you suspect it just gave mothers something to fuss over. Historians still argue whether swaddling was purely functional or tied to spiritual beliefs about molding a child's future. You're practical, but you've got a tiny crane in your kit just for Aiko's sake. You pull a clean linen strip from your kit, same batch you boiled at dawn, you hygiene fanatic, and spread it on a straw mat. All right, Aiko, you say, your voice soft, like you're narrating a lullaby. Swaddling's simple, but it's gotta be tight like wrapping mochi for a festival. She chuckles a tired sound and shifts the baby who's making those soft newborn coos that could melt a stone. You show her how to fold the linen into a diamond, your hands slow and deliberate. Lay her here, head just above the top corner, you instruct, guiding her to place the baby gently on the cloth. Aiko's hands tremble from the labor's toll, so you keep it light. Don't worry, she's sturdier than Taro's fishing nets, you tease, and Taro, hovering nearby, groans, muttering about a net that almost held. You grin, recalling his near faint during the birth. You fold the cloth's bottom over the baby's feet, tucking it under her back, then pull one side across her chest, pinning her arm gently. Snug knot sushi roll? Tight, you say, and Aiko nods, copying you carefully. The baby squirms but settles her face, a tiny moon peeking from the linen. You slip the paper crane into the cloth's edge, winking at Aiko. Old trick, you say, might make her dream of flying. She smiles, too tired to question it, and you're glad humors your balm for her exhaustion. You guide her through the final fold, securing the cloth firmly. Check her toes later, you add. Cold toes, cranky baby. Your obsession with warmth comes from too many winter deliveries where chills turned dangerous, a lesson etched deeper than any village gossip. Aiko cradles the swaddled baby, her eyes soft with awe, and you explain re-swaddling after feeding, hammering your cleanliness mantra. Yes, still on about boiled water. Dirty cloth, fussy kid, you say, half joking, picturing a modern pediatrician high-fiving you. You glance at your kit, the river stone and mugwort poultice still there from the birth, and feel a quiet pride. This is your craft's small, vital acts, no applause needed. Kimmy offers porridge again, and you wave it off. Your stomach's fine from that pickled plum, and you've got market errands next. You pack your kit, noting your low linen stock time to barter like you planned during the well chatter. Rest now, you tell Aiko. She'll keep you up soon enough. Taro vows to fetch water later, and you nod, doubting he'll remember. You stand knees creaking like a temple gate and adjust your kimono, the washi notes from breakfast, rustling in your obi. As you head for the door, you glance back, Aiko murmuring to her daughter, Taro grinning, Kimmy fussing. It's raw, real yours to nurture. Outside the village hums crickets a cart's creak. You think of Hana, hoping her birth avoids Mia's silly crow omens. Modern moms would need a nap app for this, you mutter, chuckling at the thought of a sleep tracker in Edo. The path to the market waits your heart full, hands ready for the next task. You're striding through the village, the late afternoon sun dipping low, painting the thatched roofs with a warm orange glow. Aiko's newborn is safely swaddled, and your midwife's kit slung over your shoulder feels lighter despite the day's grind. The air carries the smoky scent of grilling fish and the faint dampness of nearby rice fields. You're headed to the market now, your next task to barter for fresh linen to replenish your dwindling stock. Those clean strips you used for Aiko's delivery and swaddling don't grow on persimmon trees. The village pulses around you, a merchant haggles over radishes, a stray dog sniffs a cartwheel, and you dodge a kid chasing a bamboo hoop. In Edo-Period Japan, midwives often bartered for supplies with historical records showing sanba traded services or herbs for goods like cloth or food, as cash was scarce. Your market runs are a hustle, a delicate dance of charm and stubbornness to secure what you need. A quirky tidbit: some midwives offered lucky birth charms, knotted cords or tiny bells in trade, claiming they ensured healthy babies, though you suspect it was just good marketing. Historians still argue whether this was savvy entrepreneurship or a nod to village superstitions. You're practical, but you've got a few knotted cords in your kit ready to sweeten a deal. You reach the market, a bustling square of wooden stalls draped with straw awnings. The noise hits you, vendors shouting, baskets clattering, a flute player's tune weaving through the chaos. You spot your target, old Wren, a cloth merchant with a squint and a reputation for driving hard bargains. His stall is piled with bolts of linen and cotton, some dyed indigo, others plain but sturdy, perfect for swaddling or delivery cloths. You adjust your kimono, the washi notes from breakfast still tucked in your obi, and approach with a polite nod. Ren-san got anything soft enough for a newborn. You ask your tone warm but sharp. Ren squints harder, sizing you up like you're trying to steal his soul. Linen's not cheap, he grumbles, gesturing to a stack of creamy cloth. You pull a small bundle of dried mugwort from your kit, same stuff you ground in the shed, and set it on his counter. This for 2 lengths, you say, nodding to the linen. He scoffs, but his eyes linger on the herbs. Midwives' remedies are gold in a village full of aches. Throw in a cord charm, he counters, and you smirk, fishing out a knotted red cord from your kit. Deal, you say, picturing a modern flea market vendor nodding at your hustle. The barter done, you tuck the linen into your kit, its weight a small victory. You linger at the market, sniffing out other deals. A fishmonger offers you a small mackerel for checking his wife's sprained wrist last month, and you accept the salty scent, reminding you of dinner plans. You swap gossip with a tofu seller who mentions Hana's crow dreams again. Thanks, Mia, for spreading that nonsense. You brush it off, but make a mental note to bring Hana that riverstone from Aiko's birth, just to ease her nerves. The market's energy is infectious, but your knees ache from crouching through Aiko's delivery, and you feel the day's weight settling in. You pause by a stall selling sesame candies, tempted, but your bartering budget's spent. Next time you mutter, chuckling at the thought of a modern grocery store with self-checkout for midwives. You spot Mia the weaver from the well waving you over, but you dodge her, too tired for more crow talk. Instead, you nod to a potter whose wife you delivered last year, his grin a quiet thank you. With your linen secured, you turn toward home, the market's noise fading as you hit a quieter path. The sun's nearly gone, and a cool breeze rustles the bamboo groves. You think of Aiko, her baby snug in that swaddle you taught her, and feel a flicker of pride. The village is your web, every deal, and delivery tying you tighter to its rhythm. You pat your kit, the new linen safe inside, and hum that Onito chant from the birth, its cadence soothing your own tired bones. You're back at your modest Edo-Period home, the evening air cool as you slide open the door, your midwife's kit heavier with the fresh linen you bartered for at the market. The village has quieted, save for the distant chirp of crickets and a neighbor's clacking loom. Your tatami mats smell faintly of straw and incense, a welcome contrast to the market's fishy bustle. You set your kit down, knees creaking from a day of deliveries and deals, and light a small oil lamp, its flicker casting soft shadows. Your next task isn't a birth, but a teaching moment, showing your young apprentice Sumi how to tie umbilical cords, a skill she'll need if she's to follow in your Sanba footsteps. In Edo-Period Japan, midwifery was often passed down through mentorship, with historical records showing experienced Sanba-trained girls as young as 12 in the art of childbirth. Teaching was hands-on, blending practical skills with village lore, a quirky tidbit. Some midwives had apprentices practice cord tying on bamboo stalks, believing the plant's strength transferred to the baby more superstition than science, but it made for steady hands. Historians still argue whether these apprentices were valued assistants or just cheap labor for overworked midwives. You see Sumi as a bit of both eager but green her curiosity, a spark you're careful to nurture. You hear a soft knock, and Sumi slips in her patched kimono, too big for her slight frame. She's 14, all elbows and wide eyes, clutching a bamboo stalk she's been practicing on. "Evening, sensei," she says, bowing low, and you wave off the formality with a grin. "Sit, kid. No need to act like I'm the shogun." She giggles, settling on a cushion, and you pull your kit closer, fishing out a linen strip and your tiny knife clean as always thanks to your boiled water obsession. "Tonight's cords," you say, your voice low, like you're sharing a secret recipe. You hand Sumi the linen, showing her how to cut it into thin strips, each about the length of a chopstick. Too short it won't hold, too long it's messy. You explain slicing a strip with a flick of your knife. You take the bamboo stalk or practice cord and demonstrate the knot, a double loop pulled tight but not strangling. Firm like you're tying a stubborn obi, you say, and she nods, mimicking you. Her first try is sloppy, the knot slipping, and you chuckle. Not bad for a beginner. My first knot looked like a drunk sailor's. She blushes, but tries again, her fingers steadier. You lean back watching her work and think of Aiko's delivery earlier, how you tied her baby's cord with that same knot. This saves lives, you tell Sumi, your tone serious now. A bad tie, and the baby bleeds. A good one, and you're forgotten. Best kind of praise. She nods, eyes wide, and you soften the moment with a tease. Just don't tell Mia you're learning this, or she'll say crows taught me. Sumi laughs, familiar with the village's gossip, and you smirk, imagining a modern medical school freaking out over your bamboo method. You correct her grip, guiding her hands to pull the knot evenly. Feel the tension. You say, your voice almost ASMR smooth. The lamp's glow catches the linen's weave, and you notice Sumi's hands are calloused like yours were at her age. You share a trick, rub ginger on your fingers before tying to keep them nimble, same ginger you chewed at breakfast. She wrinkles her nose at the idea, and you laugh. Better than lotus root, you say, recalling the market's broth tip. The room feels cozy, the teaching a quiet counterpoint to the day's chaos. Sumi's third knot is solid, and you nod approvingly. Keep practicing. Next time we'll try it for real. Her eyes light up, but you see a flicker of fear. Births are messy, and she knows it. You pat her shoulder, a rare gesture. You'll be fine. Babies don't care if you're nervous. You pack your kit, the new linen tucked safe, and send Sumi home with her bamboo stalk. As she leaves, you glance at the cannon shrine, muttering a half-prayer for her future. The night's deep now, and you're ready for your own tasks, the village's rhythm lulling you forward. You're settled in your small Edo-Period home, the night wrapping the village in a hush, broken only by crickets and the occasional creak of a neighbor's shutter. The oil lamp flickers, casting a warm glow over your tatami mats, and the faint sandalwood scent from your cannon shrine lingers, a callback to your morning rituals. Sumi's lesson on umbilical cords is done, her bamboo stalk tucked under her arm as she scurried home. Your midwife's kit rests by the door, the new linen from the market safely stowed. Now, with the day's births and bartering behind you, you turn to a quieter task, journaling the day's events by candlelight, scribbling notes on washi paper to track deliveries and lessons learned. In Edo-Period Japan, some midwives kept rudimentary records with historical evidence showing Sanba used journals to note birth's complications and herbal remedies, often passing them to apprentices like Sumi. These weren't formal logs, but practical aids written in a mix of kanji and memory-jogging shorthand. A quirky tidbit: some midwives sketched tiny symbols like a fish for a healthy baby or a cloud for a tough labor, believing it brought luck to future births. Historians still argue whether these journals were medical records or partly spiritual, meant to honor the babies they delivered. You're practical, but you've got a fish doodle or two in your notes. You kneel by a low table, pulling out your washi scraps, same ones you checked during breakfast, and a worn inkstone. The inks smell sharp and earthy, grounds you as you grind a stick against the stone, adding a few drops of water from a clay cup. Your brush is frayed but trusty, and you start writing your strokes uneven from tired hands. Aiko, third child girl born at dusk, you scrawl, noting the smooth delivery and the mugwort poultice that eased her pains. You add a fish sketch, smirking at the superstition. Modern doctors would lose it over my doodles, you mutter, picturing a clipboard-wielding physician frowning. You pause the lamp's flicker, dancing on the wall, and reflect on the day. Hana's nervous checkup, Aiko's birth, Sumi's not tying all pieces of your village web. You jot a reminder to visit Hana tomorrow, maybe with that river stone to calm her crow dream fears, thanks to Mia's gossip. You note Sumi's progress, her shaky but improving knots, and smile, remembering your own fumbling start. The journal's a lifeline, a way to track what works, mugwort over lotus root, boiled water over prayers, and what doesn't like Kimmy's porridge obsession during labor. The quiet feels heavy, and you think of the babies you've delivered, hundreds by now, each a fleeting moment in this room. You write about Aiko's baby, her tiny cry, and how Taro nearly fainted again. You chuckle, adding a note about his heroic water fetching. Humor keeps you sane, a shield against the deliveries that don't end well, though tonight's not for those thoughts. You sketch a small cloud for Aiko's hip twinge, a nod to the old Sanba, who taught you the symbol, and wonder if Sumi will keep this habit when she's got her own kit. Your brush hovers as you consider adding a personal note, something rare. Long day knees ache. But worth it, you write, then hesitate, feeling exposed. You blot it out, sticking to facts. The village sleeps, but your mind hums, replaying the market's bustle, the well's gossip, Aiko's chant-guided push. You note the linen barter with old Ren, proud of the deal, and list your low licorice rootstock, another market trip soon. The inkstone's nearly dry, and you set the brush down, hands stained black. Outside, a night bird calls, sharp and fleeting. You glance at the shrine, its cannon figure steady in the lamplight, and mutter a half-prayer for tomorrow's births. The journal's done your day, preserved in shaky kanji and fish doodles. You stack the washi, tucking it into your obi for now, and blow out the lamp, the room falling dark. The village's rhythm fades, but you're already thinking of Hanasumi and the next knot to tie your heart tethered to this endless, quiet work. You're in your Edo-Period village, the night deep and cool, the air laced with the scent of cedar smoke from nearby hearths. Your journal's done, the washi scraps tucked away after scribbling Aiko's delivery and Sumi's lesson by lamplight. Your midwife's kit sits by the door ready for tomorrow, its new linen a hard-won prize from the market. The village is hushed save for a faint owl hoot and the soft rush of a distant stream. You're not ready to sleep yet. Instead, you head out to join a small gathering of neighboring healers for a community dinner, sharing fish stew and stories under the stars. It's a rare chance to unwind your kimono still dusty from the day's bustle. In Edo-Period Japan, healers like midwives and herbalists often formed tight-knit circles with historical records showing they gathered to swap remedies, vent about difficult cases, or just eat together after long days. These meals were practical, pooling food-saved resources, but also built trust in villages where gossip like Mia's crow tales could sour reputations. A quirky tidbit. Some healers brought lucky chopsticks carved with fertility symbols, believing they blessed the meal and the hands that delivered babies. Historians still argue whether these gatherings were professional networks or just social lifelines for overworked women. You lean toward Lifeline, craving the chatter after Aiko's birth and Sumi's lesson. You trudge to a nearby home, a low wooden house with a flickering lantern at the door. Inside, 3 healers, Rin, an herbalist with a raspy laugh, Yuna, a bone setter who's all business, and Emmy, a younger Sanba like you sit around a low table. The stew's aroma hits you, fish, miso, and wild green simmering in a clay pot. You settle on a cushion, your knees grateful for the rest, and Rin slides a bowl your way. Tough day, she asks, eyeing your dusty hem. Aiko's girl came fast, you say, grinning. Taro nearly passed out again. They laugh, and you feel the day's weight lift. You dig into the stew, the broth warm and salty, a far cry from your cold breakfast rice. Rin's chopsticks, carved with tiny fish, catch the lantern light. And you tease, those supposed to make babies swim out easier. She winks, claiming they've never failed. You roll your eyes, thinking of your river stone and paper crane. Every healer's got their quirks. You share Aiko's delivery, mentioning the Onito chant that steadied her, and Emmy nods, scribbling it on a scrap of cloth. Stealing that, she says, and you shrug, happy to pass it on, unlike Mia's useless crow gossip. The talk turns to remedies, and Yuna grumbles about a patient who swore lotus broth, same one you heard at the market cured her limp. Placebo, you mutter, and Rin cackles, nearly spilling her stew. You mention your mugwort poultice, a callback to your shed work, and suggest they try it for cramps. The group's a mix of skepticism and curiosity, like a modern medical forum, but with worse lighting. You're careful not to overshare about Hana's nerves, knowing gossip spreads faster than fever in this village. Modern doctors would need a mute button for us, you joke, picturing a Zoom call with this crew. The stew's gone now, and you lean back, savoring the warmth of the room. Emmy asks about Sumi's training, and you recount her bamboo knot progress, proud but honest about her shakiness. She'll get there, you say, thinking of your own mentor's patience. The healers share their own apprentice tales, and you feel a thread of connection stronger than any knotted cord. Rin offers you a rice cake for the road, and you tuck it into your sleeve, bartering a promise to check her sore wrist tomorrow. As you stand to leave, the night air greets you crisp and starlit. You glance back at the glowing house, the healer's laughter fading. The village feels softer now, its rhythm a gentle pulse. You think of Aiko's swaddled baby Sumi's eager hands, and Hana's looming delivery, your journal's fish, doodle a quiet talisman. The path home waits your clogs crunching softly, ready for the day's end. You're back in your small Edo-Period home, the night deep, and still, the village wrapped in a quiet broken only by the soft chirp of crickets and the faint rustle of bamboo in the breeze. The warm glow of the healer's dinner lingers in your mind. Rin's fishy stew and Emmy's stolen chant a cozy memory as you slide your door shut. Your midwife's kit sits by the hearth packed with the new linen from the market, and the tools you cleaned at dawn, your boiled water obsession still holding strong. The air smells of tatami and fading incense, a nod to your morning prayers to Canon. Your final task before sleep is to prepare tomorrow's tools, laying out what you'll need for Hana's checkup, and any surprise births your hands, moving by muscle memory as you ready yourself to drift off. In Edo-Period Japan, midwives often ended their days organizing supplies with historical records, showing Sanba meticulously checked tools to avoid mid-delivery scrambles, especially in villages where resources were scarce. This prep was as much ritual as necessity, a way to calm the mind after chaotic births. A quirky tidbit. Some midwives whispered goodnight to their tools, believing it kept them loyal for the next job, less magic, more exhaustion talking. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or just a practical habit to ensure readiness. You're too tired for whispers, but you give your knife a fond pat, thinking of Aiko's cord cutting. You kneel by your kit, the lamps flicker, casting long shadows across the room. You pull out your bamboo forceps, linen strips, and that tiny knife, laying them on a clean cloth. The knife's blade glints sharp as ever, and you wipe it with a damp rag, muttering, "No rust, no fuss." You check the mugwort poultice packets from the shed, enough for Hana's aches, and add a fresh bundle of licorice root low since the market, but you'll make do. Your fingers brush the river stone, a callback to Aiko's grip and Hana's future nerves, and you set it aside for tomorrow's visit. No crows for you, Hana, you joke, recalling Mia's gossip, picturing a modern app debunking omens. The room feels smaller now, the world narrowing to this quiet task. You fold a few extra linen strips, your hands steady, despite the day's toll, Hana's fears, Aiko's birth, Sumi's knots, the healer's laughter. You think of your journal, the fish doodle for Aiko's girl, and smile, the washi still tucked in your obi. Your knees ache, a reminder of crouching through deliveries, and you stretch joints popping like kindling. Modern midwives would demand a massage chair, you mutter, chuckling at the thought of a spa day in Edo. You add a small clay jar of ginger to your kit, same stuff you chewed at breakfast for quick energy if Hana's labor kicks in. Everything's in place, and you pack the kit, tying it shut with a cord. The lamp's oil is low, its light wavering, and you glance at the Canon shrine, its wooden figure steady in the gloom. You don't pray, but you nod a silent thanks for no twins today. The village is silent, its rhythm slowed to a heartbeat, and you feel the pull of your futon. You douse the lamp, the room falling dark, and shuffle to your bedding, the straw crinkling as you lie down. Your kimono's still on, too tired to change, and you pull a thin blanket over you, the day's weight settling like dust. Wind down, and so you lie there, the world softening around you, the village fading into a gentle hum. The cricket's song weaves through the air, slow and steady, like the breaths of Aiko's newborn swaddled tight in the linen you taught her to fold. Your hands stained with ink and herbs rest heavy, their work done for now. Hana's fears soothed Sumi's knots, tied the healer's stew shared. The bamboo groves outside whisper in the breeze, their rustle a lullaby older than any chant you sang. You picture tomorrow, Hana's nervous smile, the river stone in her palm, but those thoughts drift, carried away like leaves on the stream you crossed this morning. The night is kind, wrapping you in its quiet. The stars above your roof, silent witnesses to your small, vital life. Your eyes grow heavy, the futon straw, a gentle cradle, and you sink deeper, the village's pulse fading to a whisper. Sleep comes softly, a friend you've earned, and you let it take you safe in the rhythm of this endless, ordinary world.